Hey guys, it is Michael from StevensvilleGamers and welcome to another Hearthstone card review. So, there has been another card revealed for the new set, and also there is some new classic cards that have been added to the classic set, which I want to talk about as well. So, let's just start out with the new set's new card. So, the new card for Rumble is a 3-mana paladin spell called Timeout. It is a common and it reads, your hero is immune until your next turn. So obviously you immediately think of an ice block, which was the mage spell, obviously, and it basically did the same thing. It was a secret which allowed your opponent to basically trigger the effect. This time I think it is a little bit different though, because you do have more control over when you want to be immune. Another very key detail is the fact that your hero will be immune your turn and then your opponent's turn, and then the immunity is done. So that means that you can swing with your weapon and not take any damage, and Paladin does have a decent amount of weaponry that they can use, and in correlation with this card seems even better because you don't take damage for attacking with your weapon, which is generally pretty good. The only thing that I wonder about this card is the fact that it is just an ice block right now. It's an ice block that also gives your weapon immunity, which is good, and that by itself is pretty good. But my question is, why is it in Paladin? What synergistic sort of stuff is this going to imply with Paladin? Is there any other reason besides the fact that this is just an ice block that gives your weapons immunity as well? Or is there more to this story? Is Paladin going to become something that wants to be immune? Which is interesting, and the only Paladin stuff that we've seen is cards that rely on buff spells or playing spells. So this could be potentially helpful to reach the long game or make a control or mid-range sort of Paladin more accessible, but I don't know. I'm curious to see where they're going to go with this. So I think I am going to give Timeout 2 stars. I think it's a good 2-star card for right now. So that is the only new card that has been revealed for the new set, but there are some new cards in the classic set that I want to talk about. But first, just the fact that they're adding new cards to the classic set, I think is a very good idea, mostly because the times are changing and they haven't really updated their classic set in a while. So I think it's good that they sort of add some more defining features to the classic set for each individual class, which I think that they've done in this round of adding cards to the classic set. Another interesting point that kind of thinking of, a lot of the times classic packs and classic cards are getting given to newer players or less experienced players. I know myself, I wasn't super concerned on getting the newest expansion packs right away because I knew how a standard rotation worked. I knew that the cards that I was buying from the gold that I was saving up for were better spent on the classic packs, better than some of the newer expansion packs, because I understood how a standard rotation works from playing Magic the Gathering. So I think that it's good that they're adding new stuff to this, giving new players newer cards, and defining for new players those key defining principles of some of the classes. And the first card that is in the new classic cards is a 2-mana mage spell called Icicle. It is an epic. It deals 2 damage to a minion, and if it's frozen, draw a card, which makes sense. In Wild, you can still play Freeze Mage, which was a thing. In Standard, you have stuff like Frost Nova and water elementals and blizzards being played all the time, so stuff is frozen enough of the time to where this could be decent, and you know, that's just it. These classic cards aren't the best, they're just pretty solid. For 2 mana, I deal 2 damage and most likely draw a card, and if you play it smart, probably destroy a minion in the process. It's just a solid, decent card, and there's enough mage spells to wear that free stuff, and also with Frost Lich Jaina in standard right now, that when you ping something, you get the Frost Elemental. That's pretty good as well, because Frost Elementals can get out of control. Not Frost Elementals, my bad. Water Elementals can get out of control if you don't deal with them and your opponent keeps pinging your stuff. Let me reverse the roles, my bad. You can make your Water Elementals get out of control if you play your cards right, and you can keep pinging their stuff with your hero power and destroying it, and it can get out of hand pretty fast. And Water Elementals obviously free stuff, so I think Icicle is a solid card, and I'm gonna give it 2 stars. So the next classic card that was added to this classic set is called Tome of Intellect. It is a 1 mana mage spell common, and it reads, add a random mage spell to your hand, which is pretty good. It's a babbling book without a body. It's a miniatured version of Mage, the 5 mana tome, which I can't remember the name of. It's just, again, a solid, pretty decent card, and I personally think probably the best out of the new cards. Mostly because you get a random mage spell, and a lot of the mage spells are pretty good. I can't really think of a mage spell that is particularly bad. Some of them are a bit spicy, like Deck of Wonders, which I like the card. Some people say it's bad, but also build your own Yogg sort of situation. So I think that Tome of Intellect is a solid 3-star card because you get a mage spell. Most of the mage spells are pretty good, and it's a lot of value for 1 mana. So the next card that is in the classic set now is a 1 mana warlock card called Call of the Void. This is also common, and it reads, add a random demon to your hand. Much like the add a random mage spell, it's again adding another random thing into your hand. And I think another important thing that both of those cards do is expose the new player to more cards. So if you're playing Call of the Void and you get a Void Lord and you've never seen a Void Lord before, and then you play the Void Lord and you realize how good it is, you get experience and you see, oh shoot, I should craft this card, or I should try to pool for this card because Void Lord's really good. So in that regard, I think Call of the Void is a good card in the classic set to get people exposed to more things that they may or may not be exposed to otherwise while playing the game in a new environment. Because you got to keep in mind, we now have the 50 through 26 margin for new players as well. So they may not always see a Frost Lich Jaina. They may not always get a game against somebody who's playing Death Rattle Hunter, or, you know, the misery of getting the Death Knights played against them. So you're not always getting games like that, I'm assuming. So Call of the Void exposes you to more cards than you may not already know. Is it good? There's a lot of good demons and there's a lot of bad demons. I don't think it's as good as the Tome, but you could get a Void Lord off of it, or, you know, you could get the card that discards a bunch of cards from your hand, and you don't want to discard your cards from your hand as a new player because you probably value them, you know? And I think that's another thing that this card does, is it exposes you to that, and it also gets you used to Warlock mechanics, such as damaging yourself, which some newer players are probably worried about. Like, I will lose if I take damage. Why would I want to damage myself? Or discarding cards, like, hey, I have these cards in my hand, why would I want to discard them? So kind of getting people used to and get them evaluating whether or not they should play a card or not. I don't think this is very good in a more advanced or skilled or experienced player's point of view. I'm not a super great Hearthstone player, but I'm pretty experienced. I'm pretty alright. And I wouldn't see myself playing this card just because I can control the demons that I play. I can control the demons that I want in my deck and that I don't want in my deck. So it's in the classic set for a reason, and I think it's good that it's in the classic set, and we have to keep in mind that it's in the classic set for that reason. I don't think a skilled player or an advanced player with the ability to craft the demons that they want and put them in the deck that they want, I don't think they're going to use Call of the Void, which I think is different than Tome of Intellect. I think that Tome of Intellect could be used in some scenarios, such as a 1-mana thing that will get a tick on your quest for Quest Mage. There's other implications in more advanced decks for Tome of Intellect than I think there are for Call of the Void, if that makes sense. So because of that, overall, I'm going to give Call of the Void 1 star, but because it's in the classic set and because of what the classic set is supposed to do, I think it's a solid 2-star card in the classic set. So the last card that has been added to the classic set is a 1-mana rogue spell called Pilfer. It is a common spell, and it reads: add a random card to your hand from your opponent's class. Again, showing the player the mechanics of rogue. There are a lot of synergies now that revolve around stealing stuff from your opponent's deck, and I think that's the direction where rogue is going, even more heavily than it already was, unless they decide to, change that sort of direction. But I don't think that they are going to change that direction because Pilfer was added to the classic set. Again, this does the same sort of thing as Call of the Void does. It exposes a player to new cards that, I'm playing rogue and you're playing warrior. I don't really know what warrior does, but I get a good warrior card and maybe this wants to make me play warrior. So it does the whole exposure thing still. And I really do think that this is bad even for the classic set. I really do think so. There's other cards that get this kind of effect done easier and better and more efficiently. Blink Fox is 3-mana 3/3, add a card to your hand. Basically the same effect, but gives you a 3/3 body. It is 2 mana more, and maybe some early classic sort of beginner rogue decks need 1-drops. They don't have fireflies and stuff like that. So I can understand maybe using this, but there's just so many cards that do it better right now. Like Blink Fox does the same thing, Pickpocket does the same thing, and you have more control over Pickpocket. You could pickpocket for 1 or you could pickpocket for 5. There's, because of Echo, there's a range that has. So I think Pilfer overall gets 1 star, and even in the classic set, I think it still gets 1 star for right now. Because standard rotation happens, and stuff like Blink Fox and Pickpocket are going to be removed from standard at one point, then potentially Pilfer could see standard play in place of those if people are even playing Thief Rogue or Test Rogue at that point. But I don't really see this card really getting played that much, so just 1 star. Just 1 star. So that was all of the Hearthstone news that has come out. New cards for Classic and 1 more card for the new set. So hopefully you guys enjoyed, and if you did, please do leave a like and a comment down below. Subscribe if you're not subscribed already, and hit the notification bell. I do stream over on this channel. I stream Pokemon and Hearthstone and occasionally some other stuff. So if any of that interests you, come check it out. Could be fun. But I will also be posting new Hearthstone content and new card reviews whenever new stuff for this new set comes out. So I'm going to be staying up to date and on top of all of the new card reveals for Hearthstone's new set. So if that interests you, that's another reason to subscribe, hit the notification bell. And if you want to see me stream, another way to make sure that you catch the stream is to follow me down in the social media links down below. Check all those out. But other than that, Michael from StevensvilleGamers is going to be signing off now. So 1, 2, 3. Oh yeah.